Hi everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be an episode dedicated on what is in our consciousness. What is our programming? Why are we who we are? If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you have been following, welcome back. This is Anna Morfides, dedicating this channel to living our best life. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a podcast, thank you so much for being here. This video is going to hold hands, or is essentially a continuation of video released beginning of this year, 2026, titled The World Through Our Consciousness. Because essentially, the story of the life that we live and experience as a human is through the lenses of perception of our core belief system. And that core belief system, which essentially is a bunch of absorbed thoughts and statements about self and the world, those thoughts create a narrative which becomes the story of our life. So this is what we're learning in the therapeutic world as I'm almost finished my clinical counseling designation. We are always in control and we always have the power as adults. Yes, we did not have control and or power when we were children because we were directly dependent on other people to fill our needs because we don't have the capacity to do that within ourselves. The brain doesn't fully develop until it's 24 years of age. So even as a teenager, adolescent, yes, certain functions can be done. Like you can tie your own shoelaces, you can start to cook for yourself, you can start to essentially get to places on your own. Like biological functions you're able to do, like say versus a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. But executive functioning and decision making is not the same as it would be if you are a 24-year-old, because that level of fear doesn't reside in an adolescent. So they would be more prone and susceptible to putting themselves into quote unquote dangerous situations to cause harm more than an adult would, because we're able to use that logical part of our brain to like assess the situation from all aspects. That's why it is very crucial for parents of teenagers and adolescents to set boundaries, because the kids don't have the ability to see what boundaries need to be set on their own anyways, but they will push them. But it is definitely 100% a-okay to set those boundaries because they are there for their protection. So now as adults, we're fully functioning, and we don't need to depend on anyone else's boundaries or anyone else's actions to fulfill our own needs. So knowing what is our narrative. Actually, one of my classmates today said a very, very beautiful thing. She said that each individual lives their own Hollywood movie, and that Hollywood movie can be a different genre. It could be comedy, it could be a little bit more tragic, it could be very tragic. Like everyone has their own version of story that they're living as an adult, which is shaped by their experiences as a child. So you go through life as a child, completely dependent on other people. You make a meaning out of your life experience so far based on how the world and the people around you are interacting with you, especially those closest to you and your primary caregivers. So you start to develop core beliefs that could be, I am unwanted, I am unlikable, I am unworthy. You could develop core beliefs that sound such as, I am worthy of love, I am capable. I am powerful. I was working with this beautiful soul a couple weeks ago, and the first thing that I do now when I start sessions with someone is to really understand what their blueprint is. So we do this exercise to discover what their core beliefs are, which then is a map that they can give me that shows me what is a precursor to their emotions, what kind of emotions and feelings are they immersed in all day, and then their behaviors. So this person's blueprint, like their makeup, their mental makeup, which holds hands with the emotional makeup, which then affects the physical makeup, right? Mental is cognition, our thoughts. Emotional is our emotions and our feelings. And then physical is our body sensations. So cognitive behavioral therapy is teaching us that thoughts affect or produce emotions, and then emotions influence our behaviors. So this person's core belief system was very much on the negative side. And it was, I am unlovable. I am powerless. I am trapped. I am incapable. I am not worthy. I am different. Did I already say I am powerless? It was maybe 15 negative statements. So that is the blueprint of who they have become as a result of their childhood. Because then when we talked about their childhood and how they grew up and how the primary caregiver was with them and how that client's parents were associating with each other, it makes so much sense to me why they would create these internal core beliefs about themselves, because that is what they are experiencing on the outside world, and they make a meaning out of those experiences. So say, for example, if your father is yelling at you and kicking you and telling you to stop sleeping in and stop being lazy and saying things like you don't do anything around here, etc., etc., the chances that you're going to start to internalize that as I'm not good enough, I am useless. Or say a child that gets punished or parented by physical abuse, a child might very well create the core belief that I am trapped or I am powerless again. I'm not good enough. A child will always internalize something as if it is their fault, even if they're watching their parents fight. They might internalize that as being their fault. Most times they do. Parents divorce, that has a huge effect on children, because sometimes again, I keep saying sometimes, but what we were taught is that the child will 99.9% of the time internalize life events as if they are their fault, and if they could have been different, maybe things would have been different. But that's not the case. Now, that theory, if you can be different now, yes, your life can be different. But like Masha Linehan says, creator of dialectical behavioral therapy, or even Camille Zanjay, who is a hypnotherapist, past life regression therapist as well, here in Vancouver, they both say the same thing. So Masha Linehan says, you cannot create change from what you don't accept. And how can we accept something when we're not even aware of that? So that's where Camila Zanjay comes in with her explanation of the subconscious or unconscious mind. Our consciousness is made up of those two components. Like our nervous system is autonomic, but there's the one that is unconscious and the one that is conscious. 95% of it is unconscious or subconscious. So what that basically means that we're not aware of its automatic existence that keeps existing 24/7. It's kind of like the law of gravity. You don't have to think about the law of gravity, 9.82 meters per square second, which is what keeps like this book on my desk, the law of gravity, my chair. Same with the subconscious or unconscious mind. It essentially runs our emotions. It runs our thoughts, which control our emotions, which control our behaviors completely unconsciously. It's like automatic. It just keeps happening on its own, much like your digestive system. You don't have to think about, oh, I'm going to digest my food right now, or right now I'm going to circulate blood in my body and my organs are going to absorb the oxygen that my lungs are putting out there. We don't think about these things, much like our subconscious or unconscious mind. It just does its job and is influencing all of our emotions, all of our feelings, and therefore creates our behaviors. So what is in your consciousness now as an adult, if you can understand it, and then if it is much like, say, of I should say not negative, but if it's made up of mostly negative statements, then most likely the story that runs your reality is going to be reflective that of, I guess, negativity. I can't think of another word, but that will be, I just don't like to use the word negative, but I can't think of any other word. Uncomfortable. Like your life story is not going to be pleasant if that's your belief system. But the good news is that we can rewrite our story at any time, but we can't rewrite that first of all, we're not aware of. So we need to become aware of what is in our subconscious mind, right? That is part of our consciousness. Understand what's there, accept it, because we can't create change from something that we're not accepting. If we're resisting what happened to us in the past, then what we resist will persist. We are not embracing that was meant to be a learning opportunity for us. And I'm a true believer in reincarnation. I'm a true believer in soulmates, and we choose our soulmates. So even though sometimes I say like, oh, as a child, I didn't have power or control, but like essentially I did choose my parents. I chose my parents. I chose my lessons. I chose how I was going to learn them. I wanted to like graduate this coursework called Living Life as a Human. I wanted to get my PhD in humanity and living life. So I chose to have some pretty hardcore lessons come to me. And through therapy, I have been able to uncover what my negative core beliefs were, rewrite them with the power of affirmation and gratitude into positive core beliefs, anchor those in for 21 to 60 days, completely always doing the work, rewriting my story via narrative therapy, rewriting the story from the perspective that I want to experience, not who I was before, because the story that I kept unconsciously playing out, like poor me, like no one loves me, life's so hard, everything's so challenging, why are people treating me this way, why can't anyone love me? Like it was like this cloud full of like dark rain, like ready to shed that rain at all times. I'm not that person anymore. That cloud has dissipated, and now I have clarity because I understood that I've always been in power and control. And now my story, even though it was very challenging to write a new story that I am lovable, I am worthy, I am good enough, I am accepted, I am wanted, I am desired, I am cherished, like all these things that didn't feel true because I've never had that experience. for 38 years prior. So why would that all of a sudden start to feel true? So repetition, right? You fake it till you make it. Same thing with narrative therapy, repeating the story until it actually becomes a true version of who you are. Because it's not like one day when we were children, somebody said something and then that became true in our internal belief system. Although that could happen if it's a traumatic experience, like say, like a form of abuse or something that was like super duper traumatic, watching someone being in an accident. There's traumatic experiences that can, yes, throw you off course in your life later on. But talking about just day in and day out experiences, that takes time to start to develop this belief. So makes sense that it's going to take a little bit of time to create a new belief, because the little neuron needs time to grow in order for it to send that message, right, in the first place, that new message. Because when you were born, your messages were like, I am worthy, I am loved, I am perfect, exactly as I am, because the baby just cries and knows that if it just uses its emotions, it's going to be heard, and it just expects for its needs to be fulfilled. It doesn't think that it's not good enough, etc., etc. So it took time to create the new negative core beliefs. So it's going to take time to create the new positive core beliefs. And believe me, all of us play out the narrative of the product of the environment we have become so far. We are all products of our environment as children, adolescents, sometimes even adults, until we understand and come to that seat of power to know that we are in charge of that story and we can change it at any time. And with the power of therapy, we can do that. My classmate actually said this other piece of nugget today that was very amazing. And this is from, I cannot remember from what psychologist she was quoting, but it was a psychologist that is very well known in narrative therapy. And their little golden nugget is, people are skilled to create change. Yes, people and humans are wired to be below the line, but we are also created to have skills in implementing change. That is our superpower. I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel about discovering what your core beliefs are. And then you can also spend time to journal, like, what has been your story so far? You can write out who you have been experiencing. And then the point of narrative therapy is to know that the story is not actually who you are. It can be externalized and it can be something that you have experienced, but you can rewrite a different story and you can be the protagonist of that new movie at any time. It's your choice. And that's why this holds hands with the first video that I put out a couple of weeks ago, which is labeled or titled The World Through Our Consciousness, because our consciousness, what is in our conscious and unconscious mind, which makes up our consciousness, is essentially what we experience to be our reality. And that's why Joe Dispenza says, change your personality, change your personal reality. Louise Hay says, change your thoughts, change your life. Yeah, these are proven theories that have validity and they work. And I am wishing you so much love in your journey of rewriting your story, reauthoring your story, whether it is you want to reauthor a story in your relationships, where you are the one that is abandoned, rejected, you feel like you don't matter, or whether it is any story that you want to write when it comes to your employment, whatever it is. You have to know, though, that you are worthy of the new story, and know and trust, not hope that it's going to happen. You trust it will happen. You trust that it will take place for you And you don't give it any opportunity for any margin of doubt, because you want universe to know when you're placing the order that they truly believe, or they truly see that you know that you deserve this and you can have this without any exception, without anything interrupting that process. But also know sometimes universe has a different way of delivering that which we want for ourselves. So if perhaps relationship A or job B is not the one that is landing, trust the process and keep going to see which one was actually even better for us to receive when we change who we are. And as we raise that vibration and we bring in experiences, don't limit yourself to just one person or one job or one this or one that, because you don't know what creator can see that we cannot see, because they have a more objective view of everything that's happening, and everything is happening for us always. Creator doesn't want us to be hurting. He doesn't want us to suffer. So the universe does really always have our back. So thank you so much for having my back and tuning in with me for yet another episode of Living Our Best Life. Comments, questions, concerns, please. Love to hear from you. Topics for future videos, any likes, subscriptions, thumbs up. I welcome it all. Grateful for it all. With so much love and gratitude. I will see you next time.